Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul manager questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek the manager's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about some team updates. He shares with us his insights about a Tigers player flipping off fans, and what is George's favorite Prince song. Let's get right to Strike Zone.
So let us welcome back Manager George Tsamis this week. George, let's first of all begin with your team updates for us.
Okay. We have for this week we've agreed to terms with infielder Sam Moss. Obviously, people know who he is, being a local kid, and he's been with us for a couple of years. Sam, he's a good player. He just is unlucky with that wrist injury, and I know his first year with us, he did well. But last year, though, you look at the numbers and you think, that maybe he didn't do so well. But when you're playing hurt, it's tough. And but he's healthy now, and we think he can be a real good player. And we like having him, and he's good in the clubhouse, and the guys like him, and he works hard. So currently, he is back with us, and hopefully he can stay healthy.
Because of the amount of at-bats that he's had over these two seasons, is he still technically a rookie?
No, he would not be. It's 75 at-bats is the cutoff, so he is no longer a rookie. I wish he was, but he's not.
Okay. Well, let us head to our fan questions this week. We first of all begin with Trevor from Bloomington, who says he's heard you talk on the recent shows about the new signings you have made and how you would not be surprised to see these guys get signed by an affiliate team. Do you have to make plans to accommodate this occurring?
Yeah, you have to stay on top of things. You have to stay on top of the releases and watch the waiver wire. And here's the thing too: when you lose a guy during the season, and at times people don't understand, well, why didn't we replace him with something better? Well, during the summer, it's not like there's a bunch of AAA, AA guys. They're just sitting at home, waiting for the phone to ring. Most of these players are playing somewhere, so it is tough during the season, to find some guys. But we got to be prepared. You got to have good relationships with other teams and managers, and maybe something becomes available, but you just got to stay ready.
Well, thinking about some of the guys that you had in the seasons they had last year, they're saying replace with somebody better that's virtually impossible.
Yeah, it's tough at times, especially during the season.
Next up comes Owen from Crystal, who says, I saw on the Saints website that Ryan Cavan is listed as inactive. What does that mean, and does this mean he will play for the Saints for sure this year?
Yeah, Ryan, he coaches a high school team back home, so he will be with us, but it will not be until June. Some point in June, maybe when we get back from that long road trip. We only had him for a little bit last year at the end, and he had an excellent season, and he's a real good player, and so we will have him back sometime in June.
So he gets to avoid that horrible Laredo Amarillo tour or whatever.
Maybe that was the plan all along. Good thinking by him, because it's going to be a 14-day. It'll be a tough one, but again, it's early in the year, and we'll get through it.
Next up, we have Sylvia from Woodbury, who says, Skipper, I have heard you talk about your seeming dislike of not allowing the neighborhood plays and other things like this that MLB has changed. Does it seem that instant replay is actually ruining the sport?
You know what? I don't know about ruining, but it's not as enjoyable for me watching it. Cause anytime there's a close play, the game stopped, and you're sitting there looking at replay for whatever it takes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, and I can understand people thinking it ruins the game, because it just slows it down too much. But I do know on the other end, you want to get the calls right, and I just don't think it's as enjoyable with all the stoppage of plays, and you got to sit there and wait and see what happens. I don't know. Sometimes it's just tough to watch, but you do want them to get the calls right.
Carlos from Lionel Lakes would like to know, the Brewers are only going to play Ryan Braun 140 games this season to keep him fresh. What happened to the days of Cal Ripken?
Yeah, that's just amazing what Cal Ripken did to play all those games. So many games in a row, and it's a different game now, and I think it's good to give guys days off once in a while, but it's just more amazing what Cal Ripken did and what Brett Favre did all those years, to play every day like that or to play every week.
Henry from Mendota Heights asks of you, did you see the Tigers player that flipped off the crowd after being booed? Understandable that he did that, and don't you think?
Yeah, I saw it. Sometimes it's an emotional game, and sometimes maybe don't handle things the right way, and we've all been booed in our careers, and but it's probably not the right thing to do to be doing that. Sometimes you just got to take it and just let it go in here and out the other, and in one ear out the other, and but yeah, that's an unfortunate thing, and he probably shouldn't be doing that. He made a mistake. You
hear broadcasters that'll say, well, the players got to tune that out. I mean, is that even possible? I can't imagine 50,000 people booing you and you tune that out.
Oh, no, you hear it. You definitely hear it, but you hear it all the time, and again, you just gotta let it go.
Benny from St. Paul asks of you, how angry as a manager are you when a player is ejected early in the game for arguing with the umpire?
That's a really good question, and it's definitely really not happy about it at all. A player should never get thrown out of a game, and that's the first thing I say to them. The first day, I let them know that I don't put up with that. It's not the right thing. You're going to cost your team. We know the umpires make mistakes. You see it in the big leagues. You see it in the NFL. The referees they're human beings. They all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But we need you in the game. Players should never get thrown out. The coach should never get thrown out. The only guy that should get thrown out is the manager, and even he shouldn't get thrown out. I know it's an emotional game, but you have to hold back, and we need you in the game. So I think over the last couple of years, I think we've had a couple guys thrown out, and again, wasn't very happy about it. It's because you are hurting your team when you do that, and the point is, you arguing with the umpire is not going to change his mind anyways. So let me be the one to say what I have to say to the umpire and not the player.
I think we had a similar question like this early on in the season, and a point that you made that I thought was really awesome is that it's not just losing that one player, but you have such a limited bench as it is that if a guy gets tossed, now you're really kind of under the gun.
Without a doubt, you do limited bench, and again, if it's one of your best players too, you're losing one of your best players when he gets thrown out of a game. It's just wrong to do it. You have to just let it go and let the manager be the one to say what he has to say.
Next comes up Twins fan who says, does it surprise you how well the Chicago White Sox are playing, and what do you think this means for the Twins?
Yeah, they are playing well, the White Sox, and it's a good start for them. And again, I know the Twins are off to a bad start, and it's gotten worse since we last talked. But they have won the last two games, and I hope it's just one winning streak. So hopefully they can just get on a little streak and cut the gap a little bit. And again, it is a long season.
Next comes up Carol from Minneapolis. She says she sees that the All-Star Game voting has already begun. She wants to know, did you ever play in an All-Star Game?
Yeah, I did play when I was in A-ball with the Twins in the California League. I had a decent year, and I was selected to start the All-Star Game. So back in 1990 in the California League, and that's a great thing. Whatever level you're at, it's great to get a chance to play in an All-Star Game.
You were the starter in that game then.
Yes, I did start that game, and I was very lucky to get the opportunity, and it's a great thing, with especially when you're trying to climb up the minor leagues with all the scouts there and the big crowds. It's a good thing, and you hope everybody gets a chance to play in one day.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Next comes up Billy from Maplewood, who says, Mr. Tsamis, do you have some suggestions on holding runners at first base better? How can I improve my move or pay attention to the runner better?
It's one, it depends if you're right-handed or left-handed, but it's just a matter of, you can learn a lot of things from watching a game on TV. You can watch those major leaguers, watch the footwork, they use to throw to first, and and at times too, when you're going home, you just can't. You've got to speed it up a little bit. We call it a slide step. If you're slow to the plate, they're going to run all over you. It doesn't matter how good your catcher throws. If you're real slow to the plate, they get a good jump. It's over, and they're going to steal the base easy. So you got to mix up your look, and you just have to be a little bit quicker to the plate.
Tim from Egan would like to know. He doesn't really understand the infield fly rule, and would like to know if you could explain it to him.
Yeah, this rule makes sense too. It's just a rule to prevent when runners on first and second or bases loaded with less than 2 outs, on a pop up in the infield. An infielder can just let the ball just drop, and then you can turn an easy double play, and that rule is just to prevent that, and it makes sense. And and I've even seen like Ian Kinsler, for example. He's the second baseman for the Tigers. I mean, I've seen him do it a couple times this year. There's a runner on first. There's a pop-up in the infield, and the faster runner is on first, where he just lets the ball drop and just throws the second to get the force out. Well, when you have the infield fly rule, then you really can't do that. So just because the runners wouldn't have to go. So it makes perfect sense, and you just try to eliminate these easy double plays. How
far is it considered for the infield fly rule? I mean, if a ball was hit, just onto the grass and heading into the outfield, is that still considered in the infield in that rule?
When the umpire, the umpire feels that an infielder is camped underneath it, that's when he has the right to call it an infield fly rule, and it can be on the grass in the outfield, and if it's high enough where the shortstop or second baseman or whoever is camped underneath it, he can call it. Do you remember a few years ago the controversy in that Atlanta game, the Braves and the Cardinals, when it was kind of farther out there, the shortstop was going out, and they did call it an infield fly rule, but the shortstop bailed out of there. He really wasn't even there yet, and it was a controversial call, and maybe it was called too early, but this is more about the infielder being camped underneath it.
Okay, interesting. We have a few football questions for you this week. First of all, we start with Dallas from St. Paul, who says, George, don't you think that as great a receiver as Calvin Johnson is, the thing he will be remembered for the most is that dumb catch rule?
I don't think that's what I'll be remembered for the most, but that is where it all started, and we do agree with the dumb catch rule. We do agree with that. I think everybody agrees with that, except for the people in the NFL. They don't. But he was a great receiver. He was awesome. Fast, big, strong, and that's the way he'll always be remembered. He was one of the best guys we've seen, and it's too bad that he's shutting it down.
Gene from Rochester asked, isn't the Johnny Manziel situation just getting to be ridiculous?
Yeah, it's been ridiculous for a long time, and we probably don't even need to talk about that anymore, because this is a guy that he's blowing it. Next we have Dominic from Brainerd, who says ESPN is running a mock draft of what they expect to happen on Thursday night at the NFL draft, and they are doing it in prime time. I love football and know you do too, but isn't a prime time mock draft a bit too much? Absolutely, and you won't catch me catching a second of it, and I don't even know when it's on, and I don't really care to. So yeah, I agree with that one. Our last question comes from Jack from St. Paul, who says, Prince was such a treasure to Minnesota. Do you two have a favorite Prince song? Yeah, that's a sad thing with Prince, and it's he was loved by so many people, and I knew a few of his songs, and obviously the Purple Rain song that everybody liked would probably have to be the favorite one. But it's a sad thing that happened, and you just never know. You can be there one day and gone the next, and it's a sad thing and he'll definitely be missed by a lot of people. Absolutely. It's been on the news a lot lately, too, about all the stuff that's going on afterwards, too, so kind of a shocker. Yeah. Well, George, thank you for joining us this week. Okay, thank you very much, okay?
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Strike Zone.